another episode of the Fanatic Brackets. I am your host, Nick. With me, as always, is my co-host for this show and for the Ring Fanatics podcast, Joel. Today, before we even get introduced to guests, before we introduce to that, as always, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on social media, and all the audio streaming platforms where you listen to the podcast and wherever you get the podcast. As I said, our guest today, good friend of ours, all the way from the north, the one and only from the Counted Out 7 podcast. Tyler, how are you, man? How's everything?
Hey, guys, what's going on, man? Thanks for having me. This is going to be awesome.
Glad to have you on, man. Excited for this bracket. This is a tough one. Probably the toughest one we've had yet. I say that for a lot of them, but this is actually the toughest one so far. You chose this topic plus the participants. What was the kind of like the reasoning for you deciding this specific topic and the participants, if you want to get into that too?
So for anybody that's ever listened to our podcast, Counted Out with Mike and Tyler at Counted Out 7 on all platforms, cheap plug McFoley, hit the thumbs up. All right. I am a massive tag team wrestling mark, like forever and ever. I have always loved tag team wrestling. It's one of the few things I just think it's art. Like a good tag team match is such a work of art. Working the hot tag, false hot tags, you know what I mean? Building up heat on the baby face, like the combination moves and the sequences. I just think when it's done right, it's a thing of beauty. And so this is why I was like, I've always had the debate, who's the best tag team of all time? And I figured this is the right platform to do it on with a couple knowledgeable gentlemen like yourself here. I think we're going to have a fun time.
Definitely. I don't know. When you brought this up to me, I'm like, damn. I had to randomize this bracket to be like, I gotta be fair and biased here and who to put in the matchups. But yeah, with that being said, we'll get right into it. Let me explain the rules first for those who have not seen an episode of the Fanatic Brackets. So us three together have not discussed yet who we're choosing for each round. So we're doing now. Whichever participant between each matchup that gets 2 or 3 votes between the three of us will move on to the next round until we get to the finals and determine a winner. There is no right or wrong answers on how we're doing this. It's opinion based. We can base it off of accomplishments, the resume, how much you've impacted the business, their in-ring ability. We can look at it however we want to look at it. There is no right or wrong answer. And without being out of the way, we're gonna get right into the bracket.
Can I ask you guys a question before we start?
Go ahead.
Let's go.
Were there any tag teams that I did not put on my list that you were surprised to not see on my list? I had 2 really hard ones to leave off when I was doing this.
I mean, I don't know if I would say surprised. I mean, the first team that thought of was the Harlem Heat.
Okay.
That was one team that came to mind. Were there any for you, Joel, or?
No, to be honest, I think this is a great fucking list. To be honest, I don't know who you could have left off.
Yeah, that's what it came down to. I really went back and forth on not putting Edge and Christian on the list for either the New Day or for the Motor City Machine Guns, who I think they were the hardest team for me to leave off with the Machine Guns. Ooh. But I mean, you just look at the pedigree of everybody on this list, and what it came down to was, would the Machine Guns or the New Day win my tournament? And the answer was no for both. So I went, okay, let's go with these ones.
It's tough to leave out, especially since we're doing only 16 people.
Yeah, this was hard to narrow down to 16. So
yeah,
it's gonna be a good conversation, man. I'm excited to rip into this.
Yeah, me too. But we can get right into it. First round matchup: Midnight Express versus the Dudley Boys. Tyler, since you're our guest, I'm going to put you in the hot seat right now.
All right.
Who do you have between these two tag teams to move on to the next round, and why?
See, like, this one is kind of cool. There's a lot more similarities between these teams than I think a lot of people would look at when you just look at the names itself. You know, the Dudley Boys and the Midnight Express, you always think of, you know, Devon and Bubba, as well as like Bobby Eaton and Dennis Cordry or Bobby Eaton and Stan Lane. But there was a lot of different members of both of these factions and both of these groups as well, right? Like with the Midnight Express, we had Stan Lane, Bobby Eaton, Randy Rose, and Dennis Condrey. I'm not counting Bob Holly and Bart Gunn. I'm sorry, I will not do it. And then, you know, the Dudley Boys, you've got all the, you know, the Dudley Boys, right? Like, there's a million of them. It's the Hanson brothers of wrestling. It's a great gimmick. But for this one, I think, you know, you stick to your main groups there. I think for me, I think you got to go with the Dudley boys on this one. Just the traveling that they've done, they've been everywhere with it, right? The pedigree behind them, the championship accomplishment. The only thing that I would give the nod to the Midnight Express on, and it maybe not even, is kind of match quality. I think Midnight Express were a different type of entertainment, but when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, the Dudley boys are going to be one of the favorites to win this whole tournament.
Yeah.
I don't know who they would not be up against in the first round that they wouldn't win. So I go the Dudley boys just based on the Dudley boys.
Yeah, that's a good pick. Good pick. Joel, I'm going to hand it over to you now. Who do you have between these two tag teams?
This one was a tough one, but I got to go with Dudley boys also. I first learned about Midnight Express through the LOD DVD when they first did the DVD. That's how I learned about the Midnight Express, and you could see like how big they were. Just like they loved to be hated, and it was awesome to see that. And that's why I feel like what you were saying, there's a lot of similarities. Like even that, the Dudley boys love to be hated. Absolutely. Like they worked their best when they were heels, and just like you said, traveling around and winning all the championships that they've won. They're maybe the most accomplished tag team ever, if not their top 3. But you can't go against the Dudleys in this one.
Yeah.
Since they already won, I'm going to go with the Dudleys too. I agree with both of you. For me, I just looked at it how how much they've impacted the tag team wrestling. They've also had great singles careers, if you think about it. Like when they went individual, especially during that time in TNA, those times were like peak TNA, to where
Bubba's got some of the big houses in TNA history.
Exactly, one of the biggest heels during that time too, and it's like Joel said. So it was hard not to choose the Dudleys because of how much they were able to grow on me so quickly.
The biggest factor for me, like looking at it, the only thing that I really gave really serious thought to Midnight Express about was just the amount of money that they drew, because that was a big big part of my criteria. It's in-ring quality, pedigree and credentials, championships, and did you make any fucking money? Because at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. Part of my French, we get a little sauce. We get a little saucy on Count It Out here.
Don't worry, it's all good over here, man.
Yeah, we good over here. We do the same thing. We have no filter sometimes too. But both of their resumes were insane. But in terms of like the Dudleys, 10-time, almost 10-time ECW tag team champions, and just like I said, like their own individual runs outside of tag team wrestling were just pretty impressive.
Like I've got the credentials here: 8-time WWF Tag Team Champion, 1-time WCW, 1-time WWE, 1-time NWA, 2-time TNA, 2-time New Japan, 8-time ECW, 1-time All Japan. Like, damn, that's impressive, man. That's impressive stuff.
And they're still going today. Well,
they're still going. Bubba's on fire. I was at Impact Sacrifice when they did the Tommy Dreamer Bubba hardcore match.
Okay.
And wow, that match had the most heat out of everything the entire night. It was unbelievable. Bubba is one of the top heels in the business still.
It must have been a great card to go to. Jeez.
Oh, it was so good. Yeah, we had Trey Miguel and Lance Linke DePardo or whatever his name is.
Dorado.
Yeah, that's it. Jonathan Gresham and Speedball Bailey. Yeah, man. Motor City Machine Guns and Kushida were in the main event. Yeah, it was great, man.
Shout out Impact, man.
Yeah, they've been in Canada a lot recently.
Yeah, we've been there. They're coming for 2 more shows, or they just had 1 more, and they got Slammiversary coming here because their Athena or whatever is based out of Toronto, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are getting spoiled with Impact.
Dude, it's been great. Impact, I think they're like the most underrated wrestling company in the world right now. They put on
fire too.
Bangers every week, man. Their shows are great. The in-ring is great. Stories are great. Shout out Impact. I'm with you on that.
Definitely.
Yeah, shout out Impact.
A lot of people don't want to show it love, but they're doing their thing over there.
We see that all the time on here. They're doing great. No one shows them love.
But we also gotta learn how to show them more love too.
That's what I say. That's what I say about my podcast. I think we do great work, but no one fucking watches it. So
go show love to them, guys. Come on, Count It Out podcast. They're doing amazing things over there.
Come on, man. We talk to cool people sometimes.
Yeah. All right. So on to the next matchup: Brainbusters versus the Heart Foundation. Joel, do you want to kick this off this time?
Damn.
Start
okay.
Yeah.
So going off the Heart Foundation, we're going strictly Brett and Anvil, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
That's how I look at it too.
I'm gonna have to go with the Heart Foundation. Um, damn, I love the Brainbusters. They were only around for a little bit though, like as an actual team.
Yeah, because they did a lot of good stuff with the Horsemen, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and it was still the 4-man group. They weren't really like a formed tag team yet. I think they were only a tag team for from I think 85 to 89, I believe, or
yeah,
something
give or
like that.
take.
It was only like a couple years. So I feel like they didn't have that much of an impact. They did have a couple good matches, but nothing that really like stands out, right?
Yeah.
The Heart Foundation though was at that point that WWF actually had a lot of fucking tag teams.
Yes.
And a lot of good tag teams going against the Rockers and having matches against Demolition. And it was just one of those tag teams that introduced us to Bret the Hitman Hart. You know what I mean? And actually seeing how great they were as a tag team really showed, wow, these guys could be the future. And you really saw it with Bret more, but you saw with them as a team, they were just phenomenal. And that's why I have to give them the edge for this one. Also, Brainbusters, like I said, weren't around for that long as a tag team. They didn't really have that many highlighted storylines or much heat behind it. So I gotta give it Heart Foundation.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, fair points. Tyler, who would you choose between the two Heart Foundation and Brainbusters?
Well, you said something about the Brainbusters that it's kind of the same with the Heart Foundation, and not a lot of people know this, but the Heart Foundation didn't team together for that long either. They were only about 5-6 years together as a tag team. But the fact that we're still talking about them in the regard that we talk about them,
yeah,
I think that says a lot about what can be done in 5 years. We say especially Bret. Well, Bret learned how to cut a promo because of Jim. Bret couldn't cut a promo to save his life back in the day. He was quiet. He was shy. That's why he started wearing glasses, because you could see fear in his eyes. That's what he was told. Wear glasses because you look terrified cutting a promo.
Didn't know that either. I didn't know
That's why I started. I'm a Canadian. I have to know these things, right?
Just fun facts.
Yeah, absolutely. Another little fun fact. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the match or not, but the opening match of SummerSlam '89 is actually the Heart Foundation versus the Brainbusters.
Yes.
And it is one of my favorite tag team matches of all time.
I've never seen it till I was doing research for this.
Yeah, what a match though, eh?
Oh my god, yeah.
Tully Blanchard puts on a clinic in that match of how to be a chicken shit heel, eh?
Yes, and that's a way that's like a way to kick off a pay-per-view.
Oh,
especially one of the big four. Like that's
100%, right? When Tully and Bret were in the ring together, like that was pure magic.
Yeah.
But I will go with the Heart Foundation. I think it's hard. The Brainbusters had such a good run in the WWE with the Rockers and with Demolition and the Heart Foundation and stuff. But
they were so good in the ring together too.
Yeah, but the Heart Foundation just they set the standard for what a tag team should be, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm going with them, and I'm Canadian, so if I don't at least vote for them in one of the rounds, I will probably have to lose my citizenship. So
at least you got it under your belt now.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I'm going to go with the Heart Foundation too, because I agree with what Tyler said. I mean, they left a legacy, not just in tag team wrestling, but like in general. People still, like you said, Tyler, people still talk about it to this day. They get talked about a lot in tag team wrestling and wrestling in general. They're part of huge history. Same with Tully and Arn, but I guess for me, this is how I would look at it. Like they would probably looked at more as part of the Four Horsemen.
Yep.
As compared to more of as the Brainbusters. Like you said, I didn't know they were around for like 5-6 years, but still, I think they left a longer legacy than the Brainbusters did.
Mm-hmm.
Even now, we have the Talia. We have a lot of people who were part of that family that wrestle all over the place. So I get that's why I would have to put them with the Brainbusters.
Yeah, that's fair. It's funny too. Like they're very similar as tag teams as well. Like Brainbusters were 2-time NWA tag team champions and 1-time WWF, and the Heart Foundation were only 2-time tag team champions. So,
which is crazy to me.
Yeah, and they didn't, and that was it. Like they didn't team anywhere else. They were put together in the WWF, and they stayed together in WWF, and that was that. They didn't do anything else outside of the WWF.
But talking about a tag team that you put together and works, you know what I mean? Like A lot of
Yeah,
times
no
tag teams
kidding.
get put together and then like they may not last a long time.
Well, I think both these guys were going to get fired when they got put together, in all honesty. They both, were part of the deal. Stu Hart sold Stampede Wrestling to Vince. He said, part of my deal is you got to take Brett, Anvil, Davey Boy, and Dynamite. And they were just floundering,
Yeah, so it was
Brett,
really
and,
just a
Brett
Hail
and Anvil
Mary
were floundering, and they put Brett and Anvil together, and boom, off to the races we go.
Yeah, it was one of those things that they just threw at the war and just hope. Let's see what happens.
See if it sticks.
Absolutely, right? And they were their brother-in-laws, right? So
exactly, yeah. But that's so crazy now that you bring that up, that you say Brett wasn't that great at promos. And now that I think back, thinking about the promos, he would talk for maybe 15, 20 seconds and then talk to them, Jim. And then he would just scream into the camera. And now that actually makes sense to me why that would happen.
Well, like the Anvil was so crazy, right? Like, his best line I think he had was before the Canadian Stampede pay-per-view, and he's like, "We're hungry and we're gonna forget our manners." It's like, what does that even what does that even mean? Like, he's just rubbing on the goatee and shit. He's the best. R.I.P. to the Anvil. Big love,
But they were able to bounce off each other well with stuff like that. So it was like their tag team chemistry showed off in different aspects of wrestling.
I love the tag teams that have the powerhouse and the technician as well. Like, I really liked Owen and Yokozuna when they were a tag team. Like, I like that combo. I think it's such a great dynamic.
Me too. I think that's underrated. I feel like I like that too better.
Well, and it helps guys like that. If you take those big guys, like if you took a guy like on the main roster right now, like Omos or whatever, right? And you put him in a tag team with a guy, I don't know, like whatever, Mustafa Ali or somebody. You know what I mean? Like, and they found that balance. Like, you can really hide Omos's weaknesses and shine Ali's work. And then, like there's a method to that madness, right? It's a great formula.
And when he was with AJ Styles, that was also a good time.
100%. I love that. Yeah, I absolutely love that.
It's also kind of how like how they did Sky Too Hotty and Rikishi, like in the early 2000s. It was kind of like that also.
100%.
Yeah.
Those combos, man.
They work so well.
Bring them back, man. Bring them back.
Exactly. Part of the Bloodline storyline. Imagine Rikishi comes out and just like does something to the Usos. It's like, no.
He's been trying, man. You always hear him doing his interviews. I think I should be on the TV.
Exactly. On Twitter. You see him on Twitter.
He's just hoping one writer sees it and like, yo, you know what?
That's it. Yeah, you know what? Let's put Rikishi big ass on TV. Let's go.
Okay, so next matchup we have on this bracket, Edge and Christian taking on the Legion of Doom. I'll start this one off. I'm gonna go with Edge and Christian with this.
Okay.
Mainly because it's kind of similar to what I said with the Dudleys. Like, I was kind of impressed on how they ran as a tag team plus their singles career afterwards.
So that's a big part of your criteria, is like how they did as singles after.
Kinda like that's how I looked at it too, because they had they were great with the Brood, the TLC matches they put them together with the Hardys and the Dudleys, my favorite matches.
Yeah, legendary stuff.
Like I said, they worked so well together. The tag team chemistry was amazing. The 5-second poses, I think I just found them more entertaining too, and kind of like I said with in their singles career afterwards, like they're two Hall of Famers separately and together. That's one heck of a career to me. That's how I looked at it. So that's why I kind of have to put them over. I love Legion of Doom. They were a fantastic, entertaining tag team too, but it's like, I don't know, I kind of found Edge and Christian more entertaining. I don't know what it was.
Well, but Edge and Christian had the chemistry and they had the charisma for sure. But that's gonna be like, what you grew up on as well, right? So like you're gonna have that fondness towards that. Absolutely.
Definitely.
If they lose, I wouldn't be mad. Like, if the Legion of Doom went on to the next round, I wouldn't be mad at it. But like, I just had to choose them because that's what, like you said, that's what I grew up on.
Yeah.
So I kind of had to choose them. So yeah, those are my reasonings. Tyler, do you want to give your answer to who you?
Yeah, I'm going with the Legion of Doom on this one. They're just unbelievable. The amount of money that these guys have made all over the world, not just in like one place. You know what I mean? They're a one-time All Japan Pro Wrestling Tag Team Champion, a one-time AWA Tag Team Champion, 4-time NWA Tag Team Champions, 3-time WWF Tag Team Champions. They won the Crockett Cup back in the 80s as well, which was the biggest tag team tournament in the world at that time. They are both WWE Hall of Famers. They went everywhere, and they were main eventers everywhere. Now, to do that as a tag team is incredibly impressive. You know, because you got to
1000%.
think of the guys that were the big draws during this time period. It was your Ric Flairs, it was your Harley Races, you know what I mean? It was your Hogans, like Macho Man. These are all single stars. But the pop of the night every night, it's called the Road Warrior pop for a reason. You know what I mean? You hit that back in the day. They used to have Iron Man as their theme song, and they'd come out with these spikes on, running through the crowd. You just like terrifying, and they would just beat the shit out of everybody. They might not have been the easiest guys to work with, and Edge and Christian might have had better matches than them, you know, like technically wise and stuff.
Yeah.
But if you put everything together as a complete package, the makeup, the hair, the spikes, Paul Ellering as a manager was fantastic with them, and the money and championship accolades that these guys put together. These guys are, in my opinion, favorites to win the whole thing.
Ooh. Would be mad at that. I mean, their theme song was also amazing. They got you hyped up.
Yeah, 100%.
So like the Water Rush, just always got you like the adrenaline going. So like, and they looked intimidating. They did look intimidating when you stepped into the ring. But it's like, Joel, who would you have? Legion of Doom or Edge and Christian?
I gotta give it to LOD. LOD is just, I think they are up there with the Dudleys, and they are what a tag team is. You know what I mean? They are just like, they fit that mold. Like Tyler said, they just were so incredible. They looked so fucking scary. It was like, they were beating the shit out of people in there. And whether if they were or they weren't, which they probably were, but they made that shit look believable. You know what I mean? And you were like, oh shit. Even like my introduction to them, because I was born in 97, so I missed all the high points. The first time I saw them, they were out of shape and shit, and I was still like, who are these guys?
There was a point one of them was wrestling in the mid-2000s, and then
Animal.
Animal.
I was introduced to them when they came out against RVD and Kane.
Oh, no shit, eh?
Yeah, that was the first time I've ever seen them, and I was like, whoa, like, these guys look legit. Of course, they were already out of shape and stuff, so once they announced the DVD, got the DVD, I was like, oh, man, like...
So,
these guys were
Can
serious.
I ask you a question about that? Because this intrigues me. Because like, you know, you were born 97. I was in grade 7 in 97. I'll age myself. I'll age myself a little bit here.
I was born 98. So
you're born 98. Yeah. So you know, I was in like my hype of my fandom was, you know, that was like the Bret Hart Canada versus America stuff, and we were right on the verge of Stone Cold and the Attitude Era there, right?
Yeah.
So when you saw LOD come out, because they just did that one-off on Raw against RVD and Kane. Yeah. And you heard like the crowd pop and stuff because they got a monster pop and they're walking out. What was your like initial like holy fuck, like why are these guys such a big deal? Like how does the younger mind work seeing a team like LOD come out with no background on them?
So that's what was more like, who are these guys? But I saw the reaction, and my first thought was, because I saw the invasion angle and stuff, but I never watched WCW. Yeah. So I was like, these must be guys that are just finally making their way over.
Oh, okay, cool.
So that was my mindset with it. And then we never saw them again.
Yeah.
And I was devastated because I was like, yo, these guys are dope. But then I saw the in-ring, and then like now you look back and you're like, whoa. Yeah. But at that time, I'm like, I couldn't even tell you my age at that moment, maybe like 7. So like at that moment, I see them, they're coming down with the spikes on, and they're tall as hell, and they look like they could eat RVD if they wanted to. I'm like, yo, these guys might take these belts off of them. You know what I mean? So that was my mindset with it.
That's so cool, man. I love hearing that.
But my introduction was over a video game. That was even how I was introduced to it.
I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot from people now. Like, and that's what's so awesome about these video games is like the guys that I grew up with, you know, from like the 80s and the 90s, like there's like these oddball characters that you would never heard of. And then they come into a video game and it's like, oh shit, let's look into these guys. Yeah, it's
exactly
great, man. I like
you hear about them and you just want to learn more about it. So you look into it and it's like, shit, this is super good.
Yeah. Now we got the network and stuff. So like you guys can see all the good stuff, right?
But we still have Peacock. I don't know if you have Peacock.
Oh, you guys got Peacock,
you got the network in Canada.
I heard Peacock's the worst thing ever.
That shit is so trash. Can I just tell you that? Wow. I don't know why they ever made the change.
It's one of the only good things we got on you guys there. Is the WWE network, because you guys get all the good wrestling. You guys get all the big events over there. We get some okay stuff in Canada, like Forbidden Door Hardcore's coming to Toronto. I'm pretty hyped about that. But
Elimination Chamber recently.
You get all right. So, but I'll take the network and I'll stand by it. It might cost me 10 times more to go to a wrestling event or jump on a plane and fly somewhere, but I'll take the network over it all.
That's a win.
That's a win for you.
But it's crazy, it's crazy, like doing these brackets because, like you said, Tyler, at the beginning, everybody has different, like there's different gaps.
Yeah,
like, even though me and Nick are a year apart, Nick, you didn't start watching till 08?
Yeah, it's like 07, 08 is when I started actually watching it. That's when I was first introduced to wrestling. So it was like I was learning everything like from like what I missed from like 10 years prior. I'm like, shit, I gotta catch up. Find out what's happening.
Different from me that started watching in 99. So it's like it still have those gaps, and it still seem like how everybody has a different perspective on teams.
It's funny, like, because for me, like the years from like maybe 09 to 2010, like for about 10 years after that, I get confused on everything now because I wasn't watching as much. I'd still read about it and whatever, but like those are like all blurred in together, like the John Cena years, the Randy Orton years for me. That's where it's like I get confused, like. But I could tell you every match on every single WrestleMania almost in order from WrestleMania 1 to like 17, you know what I mean? Or 18. But then I get confused. Like once like WrestleMania 25, 26 hits, that's where I started to get a little not checked out because I always watch, but not as intense as I was.
That's what I was thinking too. Like there was a point where I was like, I don't remember what like number WrestleMania whatever it was. I'm like, wait, was that the main event of this and that? I'm like, I'm not sure. It's like I get confused at times too. So I know what you mean on that.
That's how I used to like judge what happened in years. I'm like, what was the main event of the WrestleMania this year? And I'm like, okay, that was 97. Oh yeah, okay. Like, I go by WrestleMania main events. Yeah.
It's actually fun to look at it like that.
So we can get into the next matchup. The Usos taking on the British Bulldogs. Tyler, do you want to kick us off with this one?
Yeah, this one breaks my heart to do because the British Bulldogs might be my favorite tag team. And I'm sorry to a friend of mine, Bronwyn Billington, who her father's Dynamite Kid, who we've had on our show a couple times. I've developed a great friendship with. But I have to go with the Usos on this one. And it kills me to do. No disrespect to the Usos. They might be the greatest tag team in WWE history. But I just love the British Bull. That's what I grew up on. You know how you talked about Edge and Christian?
Yeah.
That was the British Bulldogs for me. They had the dog. I'm like 6 years old. They got a dog with them. I'm like, these guys are the greatest, right? Dynamite Kid and the snap suplex. Like I'm very happy and sad about like Dark Side of the Ring and the Dynamite Kid episode. Because like on one hand, like I'm really sad that, he was a troubled guy and he wasn't always the best guy on the planet. So I'm like sad that came out, and you know what I mean? Like it's always hard to go through, but I'm so happy that it put his name out to this generation as well, because the Dynamite Kid is probably one of the most influential professional wrestlers that have ever stepped inside of a ring. And the amount of people he inspired in his career who have inspired other people, like he was like the OG little guy that was in there with the big guys. You know what I mean? So I really want to put over the Dynamite Kid, especially in this one. But I mean, look at the Usos, right? These guys are
the resume is ridiculous.
Buddy, they main evented a WrestleMania.
Exactly.
As a tag team
for the belts.
Unbelievable. No, that has never happened. That was the first tag team main event since WrestleMania 1.
Wow.
And the first time ever. That's the first time ever that the tag titles have main evented a WrestleMania.
That's insane.
That's crazy.
Insane.
And the Usos were the guys to do it. They are the epitome, right? They're always inventing themselves, right? Their match quality is out of control. They're the only tag team where it doesn't matter that they've never left the WWE system,
Exactly.
Because
that is so true.
They've dominated the tag team division in the number one wrestling company in the world. And say what you want about, the in-ring and whatever it's been for years and years, and it's really good now, but love it or hate it, the WWE is the epitome of what professional wrestling is. They make the most money. They are the biggest name brand. If you ask casual people, hey, do you watch wrestling? oh, what's that? Like the WWE shit? Like,
exactly.
Yeah.
that's what they say. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
to be the number one tag team for as long as they have done in that company that has not always been tag team friendly, and to main event at WrestleMania, that alone puts them to the next round, maybe the next 3 rounds.
I 1000% agree. I mean, I feel like they're currently in the best storyline WWE has put on in years.
Mm-hmm.
Like their
Oh,
performance, people say it all the time. It's cinema. It's literally cinema. So like their in ability, they're 8-time tag team champs. Seems like they're nowhere to be done. They could win like 10 more. Who knows? But I just enjoyed their in-ring style. Like you said, Tyler, but there's so many different characters. Went from when they first debuted to the face paint to the day ones. All of them were beautiful characters. Like
Yeah.
they perfected it so well. Um, yeah, I had to put the Usos too. I mean, I like the British Bulldogs. I've done a lot of research on them, but I had to do the Usos. I couldn't not skip them.
Yeah.
Joel, who do you have between the two?
Damn, I love the Bulldogs. Love the Usos. Yo, the Usos, man. That's one of my big things with them that you guys brought up. Uh, the development of their character. Like they've changed maybe 3 times now,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
every time they change, they never move on the card. They've never been moved down. They've never become a jobber tag team. You know what I
They
mean?
move
They've
up, man.
always-
They
yeah,
move. They just move up.
Exactly. But I gotta give it to the Bulldogs because I can't see them
Ooh.
get swept. Okay,
All right,
I can't see a zero by the
I
Bulldogs.
respect that.
I
respect you too.
I love the British Bulldogs, and like you said, like it's great that the Dark Side of the Ring has. It sucks like the way that they tell the stories, but it's cool that they put the name out there. Like that's a big thing me and my little brother do. We watch the Dark Side, and then he gets all into researching that person. Like last week was the Candido, so now he was like, "I've never even heard of this guy." I said,
Oh, yeah, he's so
that's on
good.
me as a bad brother, not showing you Chris. Like that's why
He's one of those unsung heroes, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so like it's cool that we did it with Dynamite Kid, Pillman. So like it's cool that showing the new generation, like putting their name out there. Even though it's like in bad taste, it's never it's always about their life stuff. Like I always tell my brother, you gotta separate the ring and the life shit. Because in the ring he was incredible. It's kinda like when you talk about Benoit and stuff, it's like he was one of the greatest in the ring, but shit, just hit the fan. You know what I mean? Yeah, just shit happened.
I really admired though in that Dark Side with Dynamite that the family bond, because like even his ex-wife Michelle and Bronwyn and you know they still spoke about him. Like they never shied away from who he was and what he did, but they still spoke so highly with them and stuck up for him. And I admire the hell out of that, man. I think there's a lot to take away from that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Before we move on, though, I want to put one little nugget out there for everybody to listen to. Perhaps one of the greatest wrestling matches and maybe the greatest tag team wrestling match of all time, if you have not seen it, is the British Bulldogs versus Joe and Dean Malenko from, I believe it's All Japan Pro Wrestling. It is on YouTube. Do yourselves a favor and just sit back and enjoy a professional wrestling masterpiece. And if anybody, reaches out and says, that match wasn't that great, or that match was boring, then you don't deserve to be a professional wrestling fan. You could be a sports entertainment fan all you want, but don't say that you're a professional wrestling fan, because this is a clinical masterpiece in the ring.
Yeah, I definitely gotta check that out.
Highly recommended.
Highly recommended. Watch that. I gotta definitely check it out.
There's one takeaway from this whole episode, guys. It's watch that match.
Exactly. I'm definitely gonna check that out right after this, for sure. Next matchup, the Steiner brothers taking on Demolition. Joel, do you want to start off with this one? I want to put you in the hot seat here.
Nick, you don't want you start this off. I'll go second.
Fine. I'll start this one off.
Try to put
this
me
was
in
a
the hot
tough one.
seat. I know it's a tough one.
I know.
That's why you try to throw it at me.
Oh man. I'm gonna have to go with the Steiner brothers here.
Ooh.
Because for me, I like their in-ring style better. I know both of them were hard-hitting tag teams, but they were athletic, the Steiner brothers. I feel like a lot of their style of wrestling, I don't want to say them specifically, there are definitely others probably before them, but I think the Steiner brothers definitely impacted a lot of tag teams today with their in-ring style. You see a lot of, it's technical wrestling, you know what I mean? Like mat style, old-fashioned wrestling that I like about them. They were always decorative in the ring. Demolition, them too, they're always entertaining. Their presence in the ring were always kind of like with the Legion of Doom. It's like you get intimidated with them, but I kind of messed with the Steiner brothers, because they were all around, not just in WWF, but they were WCW tag team champions, New Japan tag team champions.
Yeah,
so they're
7 times. Yeah.
They were all over the place. So I kind of felt like I feel like they had more impact in the wrestling business. Not saying that Demolition wasn't, but I kind of feel like they had a little slight edge over that, I guess. So I had to go with the Steiner Brothers with this one. I wouldn't be mad if Demolition won it, but I kind of have to go with the Steiner Brothers here. Joel, do you want to get this one now, or you ready for this?
Fuck.
Yeah.
I love Demolition.
Yeah.
But the fucking Steiner Brothers are just on another level, I feel. And that's on me. Always look at Demolition as like a ripoff of LOD. But that's just a biased way I'm looking at it. And also, I love the Steiner Brothers because they're fucking incredible. And they were like LOD. They just beat the shit out of people. And I love that in the ring.
Yeah.
But they did that shit athletically. They were jumping around. They were big dudes that shouldn't be moving like that. Hitting Hurricane Rana is that they...
well, hold on now. It's called a Frankensteiner.
Oh, my bad.
It's Scott Steiner.
My bad.
Steiner will murder you.
My bad.
Have you guys ever heard of Post Wrestling?
No.
So there's a journalist. He's from Toronto. His name is John Pollock. Okay. To me, he's the most credible journalist in all professional wrestling. I really admire his work. He does a site Post Wrestling with his co-host Wei Ting, and he interviewed Scott Steiner one time, and he was asking him about the Hurricane Rana, and Scott cut him off and lost his mind. It's a fucking Frankensteiner. Don't ever call it a fucking Hurricane Rana. It was terrifying. It's on YouTube. It's hilarious.
What's crazy is that shit's not even far-fetched. Like, that seems like the reaction you would get from them.
Yeah,
damn, I kind of want to give it to Demolition. Nah, fucking give it to the Steiner Brothers. But yeah, they were two dudes that were doing moves they should not have been able to do.
They were so good. Like, I love Demolition. Like I said, they were very intimidating, but it's like
great theme song.
In the ring, the Steiners can kick your ass.
Great theme song.
Yeah.
You know what? I love the Steiner Brothers WWF theme song too. The little marching band music. Like it was pretty funny. I was really intrigued to see this one come up, just because what we talked about, like, this wasn't exactly your guys' generation growing up. So I was really intrigued to hear how you guys looked at both of these tag teams. And I agree with what all you guys said. I'm going to give it the clean sweep for the Steiner Brothers here. They've been all over the world, like we talked about, NWA, IWGP, WCW, WWF, right? Like they've done it all. The moves that they've done are incredible. They were like the Road Warriors, to the point where Mick Foley talks about it in one of his books, that people used to like see the board in the back, like with the match listing on it. And if some jobbers saw their names with the Steiner Brothers and they left, they picked up their bags and left the building. They're like, I'm not getting in the ring with those guys.
Wow.
Because they would just beat the shit out of you guys.
Exactly.
But the innovation that they had such an amazing career in Japan that gets incredibly overlooked. And I think this tag team I think they're one of those tag teams that people forget how good they really are because of Scott Steiner being Big Papa Pump after. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because he was such a character and such an enigma, and he's crazy and, whatever. But this tag team was unreal. The legendary matches that they've had, the physicality, the athleticism, unreal stuff. SummerSlam 93 against the Heavenly Bodies is an incredible match. The very first ever Super Brawl pay-per-view, the Steiner brothers fought Lex Luger and Sting in an absolutely incredible match. Too many good matches to name in Japan. Steiner brothers all the way on this one for me.
Yeah.
I actually never checked out the Japan stuff. I actually got to check that out.
Me too. I realized that when I saw that, I'm like, I never really seen the Japan stuff. I only seen like
super physical. It's really good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
we got a whole list you guys are going to be checking out. I'll be expecting some text messages from you guys over the next couple of weeks. I'll be expecting some text messages. Holy fuck, Joe and Dean Malenko and the Bulldogs. Like, see Scott Steiner drop that guy on his head. Holy shit. Like, I'll be expecting all those little gems.
Yeah, I'll definitely let you know when I watch it. I'm missing like a whole bit of thank yous. Like, thank you pretty much. But next matchup we have. another tough one. Rock and Roll Express taking on FTR. Tyler, do you want to get this one off for us? 2 generational tag teams right here.
Oh man, to
Different
me
eras.
this was the hardest match in the first round for
Mhm.
me personally, because the Rock and Roll Express, man, they're still going today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like legit. They legitimately won the NWA Tag Team Championship in 2019.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And Ricky Morton, this guy is still, he's hitting Canadian destroyers right now, man.
Yeah.
Like, he's out of his mind.
Oh my god.
They
That's
are
insane.
six-time NWA Tag Team Champions, 3-time Mid-South Wrestling Tag Team Champions, 10-time Smoky Mountain Tag Team Champions, WWE Hall of Famers. They defied the art form of tag team wrestling, which was beat the shit out of Ricky, sell to the girls cry in the first round, hot tag to Robert. The amount of money that they made with the Midnight Express, and it's one of the most legendary tag team feuds. I will say maybe the most legendary tag team feud of all time. Rock and Roll Express and Midnight Express. But then there's FTR, man. They're such a throwback. They have been successful everywhere. They are having world-class matches every time they get out there. They are psychology masters. They use the tag ropes. One of my greatest pieces of wrestling memorabilia that I own, I was in the front row for AEW Rampage when it came to Toronto. And after the match, I had an 8x10. FTR signed it, and then I got the tag rope that they used in their match.
So
wow.
fire.
Because I'm just like, shit, man. Like, these guys are holding 3 titles at the same time. Even though Ring of Honor and AEW is the same shit, they still held the belts at the same time, as well as the AAA tag team titles. Oh, I'm having such a hard time. IWGP, right? Like, I'm having such a hard time on this one. I am going to go with FTR.
Oof. Okay. Good pick. Either way, it's a good pick. It's a good pick.
Yeah, that's so hard, man.
I feel like with this one, there's no wrong answer.
I thought this was the toughest one on this list.
I agree, and I'm already second guessing myself and ashamed of myself, and I think Mike, my co-host, is yelling at me right now. But
you want to change it?
No. I'm sticking with it because I'll change it 10 times. It's going to be a whole hour. It's going to be a whole hour just on this match.
And forth.
Yeah.
No, move on from me now.
Okay, bet. I want to choose FTR too because of how an amazing run they've had lately. I know it's been like 2 years. They did it all in a short amount of time, but for me, their history with the Briscoes and what they did last year and the past 2 years, amazing work.
Gargano and Ciampa,
just so many like
American Alpha. Nobody even talks about those matches. Those matches were incredible.
Even the Usos work, like they kind of they could have done better with the storyline there, but still had great matches with them. They won tag team gold everywhere other than Impact. That's the only titles they haven't gone for yet. But
you never know.
FTR's matches with the Young Bucks, man.
Exactly. The trilogy isn't done, and they're still going. They have like a 2-year contract left. They have to do so much in 2 years. Before they hang it up.
Yeah.
So I had to stick with FTR. It could be recently biased, but they've done so much in the last 2 years that I could not skip them over. So that's why I chose FTR. Joel, who do you have? Rock and Roll Express or FTR?
This was
Clean Sweep or?
This was the toughest one for me on this list. I have to go FTR and do the sweep, but the reason I'm giving it to FTR is they made people care about tag team wrestling again. I feel a lot of people were shitting on tag team wrestling. There wasn't a lot going on. It was at that point when they were just on the main roster. Still, they were just throwing teams together and seeing. This guy and this guy. Jericho is tag team champion. You know what I mean? Like they were doing stupid shit. And these guys were down in NXT, grinding and making you care about tag team wrestling. Coming to the main roster, trying to do that there, but Vince wasn't having none of that shit. To finally get released and just fucking kill the scene in AEW, AAA, New Japan. Like we talked about, like Ring of Honor, like they've done it all. And I gave them that edge just because they brought back in my opinion, they brought back tag team wrestling. Like,
Yeah,
the Usos would have been doing their thing and stuff, but we didn't really care. Like, I feel like a lot of people didn't really talk about tag team wrestling until those takeover matches FTR started putting on, and then it was like, whoa, you have you watched the tag team match? You know what I mean? It was one of those. Have you watched the Revival? And was like, all right, this is where it started, and now it's one of the biggest things right now in AEW tag team wrestling, and I feel like they're a big reason for that.
Yeah, for real. I mean, like, I think for the Usos, it was kind of like it wasn't really their fault. It was more like booking wise for them.
Oh yeah,
they kind of like say that, like, but yeah, I get it. I mean, FTR has been
and they're such an old school team. Like, I hadn't seen the spot where they jump onto the turnbuckle to stop the hit when they throw. I think it was
that's a good old school.
Yeah,
spot.
I forgot who they threw into the corner. I think Dax got on top and stopped the hit. And I was just like, yo, I haven't seen that since I was just watching old school wrestling videos.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was something that I was just like, even my brother was like, yo, I've never seen that. I was like, that's just an old school shit. Like,
they do throwback right. You know what I mean? They do throwback right. When I was at that same Rampage show, Dax was wearing his Bret Hart gear, like, you know, the pink and black gear he has.
Yeah.
And I was in the front row, and he was standing in the turnbuckle right in front of me. It was like a commercial break or something. And I was just like, love the gear, brother. Love the gear. And he looked down at me, goes, I'm just a fucking mark, man. I'm just a fucking mark.
Yo, they're fucking awesome, man.
They are awesome.
But yeah, that's why I had to give it to FTR.
That was a hard one. I feel like I need a cigarette, man. Holy shit. This is tough. I don't even smoke.
So next matchup, the Young Bucks versus the Briscoes. Oh my God. Oh man, this is a tough one for me. I'll start this one off. Ooh, I want to go with the Young Bucks. I mean, I love the Briscoes. They're amazing. 13-time Ring of Honor tag champs. They define Ring of Honor, in my opinion. But the Young Bucks are putting on classics everywhere. They were high-flying tag teams. You know, they were the definition of like kick and flips, I think they were calling it. Even the Usos are doing the same thing. But like, the Young Bucks were just insanely talented, and they're still going on in one of the best, if not the best storyline in AEW. And rest in peace, Jay Briscoe too. But it's just, I don't know. I feel like the Young Bucks were just killing it for a longer period of time. You know, I feel like there was a period where not a lot of people watched Ring of Honor. Maybe that would have changed things if that was just bigger as it once was. But if they were on a different stage like the Young Bucks were, they definitely would have been over with the Young Bucks. But I feel like I had to put the Young Bucks in there. I mean, I love the Briscoes. They were great, but it was just, I don't know. My heart went straight to the Young Bucks with this. That's the only reason I gave it to.
The Young Bucks are influential too. They're part of a revolution that started a new company, right? Like, that's a big deal, man.
Yeah, it is. It is. Joel, who do you have in this matchup?
I'm giving the edge to Briscoes. They are Ring of Honor. Those guys are Ring of Honor. And if it wasn't them tag teaming together and killing it and fucking winning, how many times did they win the ROH belt, you said?
13. Yeah.
13-time ROH, 1-time Pro Wrestling Noah, 1-time IWGP.
And they were a 6-man too,
Impact.
Right? The Never 6.
They won the 6-man in both Ring of Honor and Never. Impact Wrestling, GCW, ZZW.
Bro, the Briscoes have such a fucking crazy resume. And then, of course, Nick, if you want to take into account what they did after when they were in a tag team with Jay winning the belt and Mark still killing it on the scene and being even a contender for the belt.
Yeah.
I just think they're one of those tag teams that they had that ECW feel to them that they just missed that boat. And they just got... They got put in Ring of Honor, and for some reason they just fit because they were gritty, but they were also nice at pro wrestling. And I think that's why I give it to them. Like, the Bucks are fucking awesome. You can't take nothing away from the Bucks.
Yeah, even if you hate them, you have to respect them.
Exactly.
But the Briscoes, I feel like, are one of those tag teams. I feel like now, I hate to say it because of the passage of Jay, a lot of people have been giving them their flowers, but nobody was really giving them their flowers when they were down in Ring of Honor when no one was watching and they were carrying that shit on their back. when WWE and came and raided the Indies in what was that 2012, 2013, that era, the Briscoes like they fucking took ROH on their back and they said, "Yo, we got this." That's when they decided to put them in singles, and then they would do tag shit here and there. But they are just those guys that is just they're so reliable. Like if you want to put a team over, give them to the Briscoes. Look at the matches with the Bucks, with the Hardys,
FTR.
so many names. Yeah, FTR, the 3 that just happened last summer. It's like
Dean and Generico.
In the last 3 years, they've done so much that they just started getting on people's maps. But they've been doing this shit forever. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like it's just great that they got the recognition the last couple of years. But yeah, I just gotta give it to the Briscoes, man.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. Tyler, who do you have? Young Bucks or Briscoes?
Fuck, man, that's another hard one. These teams were probably the most evenly matched teams as far as like criteria, like championship accolades went.
Yeah.
You got the Bucks, 2-time AEW tag team champs, 1-time AAA, 7-time IWGP Junior champs, 1-time IWGP tag champs, Super Junior tournament winners, 4-time PWE champs, 3-time Ring of Honor champs. Right?
Yeah.
I named the Briscoes accolades before that. But to me, I'm going to man up, and I'm going to go with them boys, the Briscoes.
Not a bad choice.
The Briscoe brothers, their Ring of Honor stuff from like 2004 to like 2009, especially like that era where like American Dragon was having his run, Samoa Joe was having his run. Their feud with Steen and Generico alone gives them the nod for me, as far as I'm concerned. That ladder war and that whole feud was just absolutely incredible. I love, they use Leonard Skinner's "Give Me Back Them Bullets" as their theme song. Just so badass when they come out. Their singles matches against each other are out of this world amazing. The Briscoe brothers, I think, maybe next to the Usos, I think are the best tag team in professional wrestling over the last 10 years.
Yeah, that is true. I would agree with that.
Yeah, you can't argue that.
Yeah, that is so true. Now, last matchup in the first round, the Rockers taking on the Hardy Boys.
Ooh.
Who wants to start this one off?
I'll take the lead on this one.
Cool.
This is a cool one for me because this is my favorite, second favorite team or third favorite team as a kid, because like everybody loved the Rockers.
Yeah.
Against my favorite tag team growing up, the Hardy Boys. I was a Hardy Boys fan when the Young Bucks like were looking like them. You know what I mean? Like when they were wearing the Daisy shit. That's when I became a Hardy Boys fan. Before they were too extreme, before the ladder match, they were my guys. The Rockers are tag team specialists. Obviously, Shawn Michaels, the greatest of all time, probably one of the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time. But we're not talking about singles runs here. We're talking about tag team wrestling. Mm-hmm. And to me, the Hardy Boys are taking this one hands down. The Rockers' run was short. They were never tag team champions anywhere except for the AWA. They had a good run as the Midnight Rockers there. Incredible bloody match against Pretty Boy Doug Summers and Playboy Buddy Rose. That bloody one there. I don't know if you guys have seen that one.
Seen that, yeah.
I think I've seen that
the showboat there. Great matches with everybody. Orient Express at Royal Rumble 91. I want to give a shout out to. That's one of the greatest opening matches in wrestling history. But the Hardy Boys are the Hardy Boys, man. I don't need to list their accolades. They've been all over the world. Yeah. They've won titles everywhere. They did the belt collector gimmick before anybody else was doing it. They've evolved, and they're still kicking to this day. It's been, 20 years of Hardy Boys?
Yeah, around that.
Right?
Yeah.
No question. To me, I am deleting the Rockers.
Me too, man. I'm deleting the Rockers, too. I love the Hardy Boys. I think they're if not the most influential tag teams in history that influence today's tag teams. I mean, a lot of people are just fans of them individually. I know we're not talking about individual stuff, but they're just like one of the most iconic tag teams you can think of. Throwing it back to the TLC matches, those 3 matches define tag team wrestling, the 6-man tag team wrestling, because there were 3 tag teams. But I don't know, always loved them. It's hard not to hate the Hardy Boys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Rockers, like you said, were there for a short amount of time, so there wasn't really like a lot to bounce off of.
Yeah, they
For
were
the
done by
Rockers.
92, right?
Yeah,
About
it was
80,
pretty.
87, 88 to 92, I think they did.
Yeah, and like you said, Tyler Hardy Boys are still killing it today.
Yeah.
Still rocking it. So I'm happy for that. So I couldn't not go against the Hardys. I could not go against them. Joel.
Yeah, I gotta give it
What
to
do
the
you have?
Hardys. They're my favorite tag team of all time.
Yeah.
I grew up watching them, and they were the fucking shit. Like those
Yeah.
are my guys.
Yeah, I actually own the first ever Hardy Boys T-shirt that was ever put out. I still have it to this
That's
day.
fire.
That is
Yeah.
insane.
They're they're like my first memory of wrestling.
Me
Like
too. I
Them
would say.
them beating the Acolytes for the titles with the whole head injury to Bradshaw shit. That was like they're like my first wrestling memory. Them and
It's
Taker.
one of the biggest markout moments that I've
Yeah.
ever had in my entire life.
Yeah.
Like those were my guys, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When they beat the Acolytes, I was jumping up and down, yelling. My mom was like, can you shut the fuck up there? Like, what's going on? Like, I'm in high school, you know what I mean? Like, I'm in grade 9.
You don't understand.
running
The
around
Hardys
my
just
house.
won. You don't
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah, like I put my blood, sweat, and tears into these guys for 2 years before anyone knew them, and they won. Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that match up. That's one of my favorite wrestling moments, like memories.
Yeah.
No, that's such a sick moment, man.
Yeah. Wow. First round concluded. Now on to the
Ooh.
second round.
The
This
second
is gonna get
round.
tougher. Dudley
shit.
Boys taking on the Hart Foundation. Let me start this one off. I'm gonna go with the Hart Foundation. Because I think that, like I said with the first round, they left a legacy behind. You know, both of them are it's like both tag teams are Hall of Famers. I think both went in individually as Hall of Famers. Both of them had, and like I said, we're not talking about individual careers, but they both had great individual careers. I just think they're like more iconic than the Dudley Boys. I love the Dudley Boys; they accomplished a lot more, but it's just the Hart Foundation, just the whole family in general. Like, you know, it's their family is still kicking it today. You know,
the legacy.
Natalia,
Yeah.
Davey Boy Smith Jr.
Yeah.
The whole family is still rocking with it today, and it's like it's family, but like they have their own. Don't they have their own dojo in Canada? I believe.
That's in Tampa Bay, but they have TJ and Natty do the training out there. A couple of our local guys that I've done some announcing with just went up there and trained with them actually.
Oh,
nice.
wow.
Shout out
pretty
Jax
sick.
Williams. That guy's a hot talent on the Ontario indie scene, man. Check him out.
Yeah, I mean, so
shout
I
out
could
him.
not go against the Hart Foundation. So yeah, I'm choosing them. Who wants to go next? Who wants to choose their pick?
I'll do it. I'm picking the Dudleys. The Dudleys are.
You giving Tyler the.
Listen, the Dudley Boys are tag team wrestling. They've been everywhere and they've been killing it for years in the matches that they put on, and starting out at ECW and just being the hated villains to just jumping over
Start
WWE.
riots, man.
People meeting them in the parking lots and stuff. That's how good they were at their job. That people were like, yo, we want to fight these guys. But just other than that, the title accolades and this, I also liked. Like I love the TLC matches, but low key I like the individual tag team storylines. And anytime Edge and Christian or the Hardys were feuding with them separately, it was always, I thought, better than when Edge and Christian and the Hardys would go up against each other. I feel like the Dudleys just brought something different to the table, and that's why they're one of the greatest tag teams ever.
I mean, they had great matches in ECW with the Eliminators and the Gangsters too, right?
Yeah.
Great matches in Impact Wrestling with the Motor City Machine Guns and Beer Money and all those teams.
The Beer Money matches and the LAX matches were
LAX were real good. Oh, this is hard, man.
And it's tough to be like, it's tough to look at the Dudleys' career and be like, what was their prime?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Because to me, like, I look at them and you can say their prime was ECW, WWF, or I think their prime was TNA. It's not that they were. I feel like they're on the same boat with Kurt Angle. They were in WWE when they were in their prime. They should have been, but they weren't. But it probably helped that they weren't, because of just all the shit that was going on with the tag teams in WWE at that point.
Oh, you guys put me on the spot on this one.
Yeah.
Come on, Joel.
And I'm Canadian too, so I got extra pressure on me. Shit.
I mean, you already got the
I
first
gave
one
the
under your
first vote,
belt.
right? To me,
Yeah.
it comes to me like, where does my vote go? Does it come towards in-ring perfection and better matches,
Yeah.
or does it come to longevity, accolades, and tag team royalty? And I got to give my nod to the Dudley Boys on this one.
Not a bad pick. Not a bad pick. I'm
I
mad at
just
that.
they're one of the best tag teams of all time for a reason, and you know we said enough about them in the first round. Like, I just think the Dudley Boys are gonna squeak it out. That was a tough one though.
Yeah.
It was. Now we can get on to the next round of this tournament. The Legion of Doom taking on the Usos. Oof.
I'm never coming on your guys' show again. This is too hard.
Yeah.
This is too hard. Shit, man.
Oh man. Who
Even
wants to start
better,
this one off?
let's let Tyler kick it off because we
Yeah,
put him
Tyler,
in
you
the
wanna take it
hot
over
seat
this
last
time?
time. We put him in the
Yeah.
hot seat last time.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what though? And like, to me, this is the exact same formula almost as the last match. It's like, do I go with match quality and or do I go with money and credentials? Like, to me, these two teams are, either one of them could be a winner. And you know, even like any team that's left obviously could be a winner, but like this has probably been the hardest matchup we had to do. And I think that whoever we put into the next round here against the Dudley Boys, like, this is the finals to me. You know what I mean? Like, that's the top half of the bracket, but like, I'm going with the Usos. And I'm going to give it to them solely because I respect how they main evented WrestleMania. I think that goes such a long way. No other tag team in the history of professional wrestling has main evented a WrestleMania as the tag team champions, and the Usos did it. So,
and how great that match was too. Just so, even if it wasn't,
it was amazing.
The moment. And oh man, Joel, you want to get this one off?
Yeah,
the next one.
LOD, man. I gotta give it to LOD. Not only to put Nick in the hot seat, but also because just they just were everywhere, every territory you could think of. And also, like I said, my introduction to them, learning about them, like we talked about earlier, when you start digging into teams and finding other teams and learning about Midnight Express and learning about the territories and how contracts were just being thrown around. You know what I mean? So they were like a big part of, like, now that I think about it, they were a big part of my wrestling like fandom. Yeah. So I gotta give it to LOD.
So Nick, before you answer here, what's more impressive to you guys? A tag team like LOD that went all over the world and got over in a main event level all over the world, or a tag team like the Usos that have stayed in one place and stayed over?
I mean,
I think they're both difficult. I think they're both difficult to do. I don't know which one is.
I think they're both equally as impressive, if I'm being honest. Because, like, I think that traveling all over the place is impressive because you got to collect more belts, you know? But then if you're, like Joel just said, I feel like it's difficult to stay in one and continue to thrive at the momentum the Usos had.
Yeah, like,
and that was part of the reason why I'm choosing the Usos, because they stayed at that high level, never went down.
Yeah,
they're always
higher now. It's crazy.
Exactly, they're even higher now than they once were.
Exactly.
And it's like there was never a point where I wasn't a fan of the Usos. Like, they were the team that made me fall in love with tag team wrestling before FTR did. So like I had to choose the Usos. I love Legion of Doom.
Not mad at them.
No, I respect.
Their presence was just amazing. But the Usos, man, I couldn't go against them. It was hard.
You know what, though? Like, if they didn't main event WrestleMania this year, I might have given the nod. I might have still given the nod to LOD, but that's the biggest show.
That's a big.
If we would have done this back in like January, February, I would have been like Legion of Doom for sure.
Yeah, man. And that's something though. To be in the WWE for that long and to be getting better and bigger is unreal, especially as a tag team, man. And you know, they've never done the breakup angle. They've never even really teased the breakup angle. Like,
a
little bit now if you think about it.
I don't know though, but it had to be tough back then, because I feel like right now, like, I love FTR and stuff, but it's gotta be easier for them than it was for LOD. Now with social media and all the blogs and everybody knows who FTR is, Legion of Doom, it was like, unless you were like really into watching every wrestling company, you didn't know who they were when they showed up
Yeah,
at your
but
territory. So it was
their
like
aura
Yeah.
carried them, right?
yeah, that's
Like,
what it was. It was like I feel like every time they would go to a different place, it was starting from ground zero.
yeah, no,
That
that's
is
fair.
true.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's like like Nick said, it's kind of equal, but it was just I think it was tougher for them because they weren't doing it in the age of social media.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good
Let's
point.
just get into that matchup anyways. The Steiners and FTR.
Yeah,
Since
let's
you're
talk
talking
about
about that, Joel, who would you
Yeah.
say is your winner between them two?
Oh, FTR,
Okay.
FTR. I I'm just so impressed by FTR. Every time I see them in the ring, it's always something new with them.
Mm-hmm.
It's always something that I either haven't seen in a while, or it's the first time I'm seeing it, or just seeing it again and they're just doing it way better than they've done it before. And I feel like just going around and like I said, they have social media to help them, but going around to different companies and actually winning the belts and putting not only being given the belts because they're ex WWE guys, but actually putting on fucking great ass matches. They're putting on bangers in all these companies. So I give it to them a lot. I love the Steiner brothers. I talked about that in the first round. And I said everything I needed to say about them, but
Yeah.
I just have to I give the edge to FTR.
I mean, yeah, it's true. Tyler.
Also,
I'm
I
not
feel
gonna-
like it's because it's right now happening, and I'm still just such a mark about them that I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, FTR.
Yeah, like
I-
FTR. What did Dak say to you, Tyler? I'm
Just a
being
mark, brother.
Yeah, just a mark.
Just a
Yeah.
mark, brother. Just a fan.
Exactly.
That's true, man. It's true.
Tyler, I'm gonna give you this next one. Who do you have?
I gotta say, like, out of all the matches that we've talked about so far, if I could actually see one in real life out of
Yes.
everything, I think this would be the
Yes.
one that I would pick to come to life in their primes.
Oh yeah.
Great
I
minds
just-
think alike. I was just thinking about that
Dude,
before.
yeah.
I just think these guys would tear the house down together. I am also going to go with FTR though.
Mhm.
I'm impressed with what they do, and I just FTR, man. Not much more I can say about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna have to go with FTR too. They're just like kind of on the same boat as the Usos every time. And like Joel, you said, it's just they always impress me every single time. It's like you don't even know what to expect from them, and in the ring, they're still killing it, you know.
Yeah.
And they have to, like I said, they have in the first round they have 2 years left in their contracts. Who knows what they can do in 2 years? It feels like
Exactly.
we're still seeing a lot from FTR. We still have a lot to expect from them. We don't know what they could do in 2 years.
Yeah.
I just think if the Steiners would have had a little bit of a stronger run in the WWF,
Oh, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and then it's not their fault. The tag team division was weak at the time, right?
Yeah,
Like their
that's
biggest
not
feud
on
was
them.
Money Inc. and
Yeah,
like yeah,
They were just there
the
in a bad
Quebecers.
time.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just think they didn't have a lot to work with at that time. But like I said, SummerSlam '93 against the Heavenly Bodies is a fucking banger.
Yeah.
Check
Yeah.
that one out as well.
yeah. Next matchup, I'm gonna get this one off because I believe I've never seen their matches. In Ring of Honor,
You gotta do it,
and
Nick.
though they had a few, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I believe they've worked together a couple times. Briscoes and
Yeah.
Hardys, yeah, they worked together a couple times.
Yeah,
I've seen-
They
I
wrestled in
forgot-
ROH. They wrestled in their company Omega. They've
Yep.
they've
House of
done a
Glory
couple
too, right?
matches. House of Glory also. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've seen that match, but like their chemistry work was amazing, especially during the deletion stuff that the Hardys are going through with Brother Nero.
Yeah.
But I'm a big Hardy Boys mark. I'm such a big Hardy Boys mark. I cannot go up against them. I think that the at the top of my list of the greatest tag teams of all time. But let's just see where this bracket goes between the three of us. But like, if it were just me doing this, I would put the Hardy Boys winning the whole thing. I just love them.
It's tough to argue, right? And
Yeah, but it's like that's just a personal opinion though. But
it's tough to argue, and I won't argue it. As much
Yeah.
as I love the Briscoe brothers, I just think the Hardy Boys are something special, and I'm gonna go with the Hardy brothers over the Briscoes as well.
yeah, I mean Joel.
Hardys, man. There's
Yeah.
nothing more to say.
Yeah,
the
Yeah,
Hardys,
and that's
bro.
not a knock on the Briscoes
No,
at all. It's
never.
just that's the Hardys, man. If it was
Exactly.
the Briscoes and FTR, I think I'm going Briscoes, but
probably.
they
Yeah.
just got even the Steiners. Like this is the only match for the Briscoes that I couldn't get them through.
And it's
No,
tough whenever I have to
definitely.
randomize these brackets. It's like shit. This is such a bad timing to put them in the bracket. Like
Yeah.
you said, if they were going against a different tag team, I would choose the Briscoes. But it's just
Well, and it's interesting too because if anything else would have felt differently, like the big four are the Usos, the Dudleys, the Hardys, and
yeah, Final Four.
and LOD, and here we are. Like we're gonna cut down. This is interesting the way it's cut. Like I like it.
Yeah. Let's just get it right into it. The Final Four: Dudley Boys taking on the Usos.
Oh God.
We're all going to be in the hot seat here. But Joel, Who are you going to choose the first round? I will start with you.
Dudleys.
Okay.
Dudleys. I've said everything I needed to say about the Dudleys.
Yeah.
Like I said, they're top 3 greatest tag teams of all time, and just with the resume alone, the years being a dominant tag team. I love the Usos. They're one of my favorite tag teams at the moment. They've been doing such great work. We talked about them changing characters and how they've developed in the ring and stuff like that. But I can't go against the Dudleys.
Yeah, that is true. Tyler, who do you have?
They never main evented WrestleMania though.
Ooh.
But they do have one of the greatest WrestleMania matches ever.
That is also true.
That is
Devon,
true.
we had the pleasure to interview Devon Dudley as well.
That's sick.
And I asked him, and it was an in-person interview. It was really
nice.
It was nerve-wracking for me. And I asked him one of the questions that I always ask, the question I ask to end every interview is, out of everything that you have done in your career, what is something that you personally look back and it just makes you smile?
Well, that's a good question.
And he said that the fact that we stole the show back-to-back WrestleManias, and the fact that WrestleMania 17 is looked at by many as the greatest of all time, and Rock and Austin were on top, and we stole the show. I said, damn, Devon, that's fucking pretty deep.
Yeah, that was.
But it's not deep enough for me to vote for them. And
I'm
going for the Usos on this one.
Oh man, now I'm in the hot seat.
God seat, Nick.
Yeah.
Cool. This is tough. Both are great tag teams. I don't hate
the
any
Usos
of them.
also beat the Dudleys at WrestleMania as well. So.
Oh yes,
at the pre-show, half the building wasn't even in yet.
That's all right. It's still in the record book, brother.
Man, I think you made my decision for me. There you go. No, but I'm gonna go with the Usos. I love the Dudleys. I respect the Dudleys. I'm not saying anything bad about them. It's just the Usos have done a lot to impress me in the ring. I know I love the, as much as iconic as the Dudleys are with the get the table stuff and the 3D finisher. It's just the Usos are just, I just love their in-style ring, the in-ring presence more than the Dudleys were.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of high-flying wrestling. Again, they're currently involved in one of the greatest stories in WWE history. So I'm gonna have to give this slight edge to the Usos. I had to give it. I hate that the Dudley Boys are getting eliminated. If they were going up against the Briscoes, I would have said the Dudleys any day of the week.
Yeah, well, we're all shitting on the Briscoes right now.
No,
why every time we go to the thing, if they were going up against the Briscoes,
I mean, like, or FTR. That was the first tag team to get to mind. But
did you guys ever hear the story that Bubba told about getting signed by the WWF? And he's in the meeting with Vince, and he's like, "Hey, Vince, just to let you know, we're heels, man. Like, we're full heels. Like, I don't sign autographs. I don't do any of that shit." And Vince just laughed at him, put his hand on his shoulder. It's like, "Yeah, you're gonna sign fucking autographs, Bubba."
Typical Vince. That was a typical Vince answer.
Basically, you say, "You think you gotta stop my money?
Yeah,
no shot."
I'm the boss around here, Bubba.
Yeah,
exactly.
You be a good boy and sign some autographs. Here we are, one finalist set, and we've got one to go.
Exactly. Let me kick this one off because I know my answer. I'm gonna go with the Hardys. I just love the Hardys. They're, like I said in the last round, they're very iconic. One of the most influential wrestlers. Always gonna be at the top of my list, in my opinion. But yeah, that's all I can say about the Hardys. It's just very iconic. Even non-wrestling fans now still think about the Hardys, still based off of Hardys. So,
and what I love about this too. This is a match that we're probably going to see in the next few months.
Probably,
I would love to see it.
And it sucks that we never got to see it in WWE, but it's like,
But it's better because I think you'll get it better in AEW.
Probably, yeah. I hope it's going to be in a ladder match too.
That'd be all right.
But yeah, I'm going with the Hardys. Who wants to get their opinion next?
I can take it if you want.
Sure.
Tyler, you go, yeah.
FTR has been on a hell of a run in the professional wrestling world right now, and they've been on a hell of a run in this tournament. But that run is coming to an end right now because the Hardy Boys, for me, when I saw how this bracket worked out, there wasn't a doubt in my mind that the Hardy Boys were going to be in the finals. I just didn't know who they were going to be against.
Yeah.
I definitely feel you on that. Make that 3.
Made that 3, yeah.
Oh
A
yeah.
clean sweep here.
Yep.
You're not
And
surprised.
here we are.
Here we go. Final round of the bracket. We got the Usos going up against the Hardy Boys, brothers versus brothers.
This is crazy.
It's insane. It's great finals, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a great
Yeah.
final
Definitely.
pick.
Are you guys surprised by any of this, or is this where you thought it was coming?
I had an idea. That's gonna be it.
So I kind of felt like it was gonna be this.
I
yeah.
knew the Hardys. I couldn't figure it out between the Dudleys and the Usos and LOD.
I actually had Dudley's and LOD going into the fight, like going up against each other.
Yeah, I think I had a Dudleys Hardys finals. I think that's what I had.
At first, for a while, I had the Hart Foundation and Hardys, but
Yeah.
I think I kind of changed it as we were going through this to the Usos. So it was like I flip flopped a little bit, but I was like, damn.
Is it fair to say that both of these tag teams, like these are the two most successful tag teams in WWF/E history?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say.
That's very fair to say.
Who wants to start this one off to give their pick?
I'll kick it off.
Sure.
I'm going with the best tag team in WWE, man. The Hardy Boys. So influential. So many great matches. So many great moments. I get it. They didn't main event a Mania, but they left their mark up there.
They
and
did.
They're one
they
of the
definitely
most,
stole the show on enough of them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, like Nick said, I think a couple rounds ago, they're one of the most influential tag teams.
Yeah.
Especially now with the generation coming up. A lot of the tag teams, you could see the Hardys in them. I mean, you could have saw it with the Bucks. And the Bucks weren't that far off from the Hardys when they debuted. So I gotta go with the Hardys, man.
Yeah, Tyler, who do you have?
Ooh,
it's gonna be a tough one.
I thought you were going to
lead to WrestleMania.
I thought you were gonna lead me to the end. I grew up on the Hardys, but I gotta give it to the Usos.
Ooh.
Okay.
I gotta give it to the Usos.
Wow.
I just respect what they've done so much as a tag team.
Yeah.
And they've been together pretty much the whole time, minus the one injury there for a little while.
Yeah.
But the thing that does it for me is that the Usos have always been upper mid card to main event status for as long as they have. That tag title run that they just had, what was it, like however many days it was, right?
500 maybe.
500 days, you know what I mean? It blew away any other, like if you take a look at every other champion on the list, nobody held the title for that long, that type of a reign, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like even combined, if you combined all the Hardy Boys probably title reigns together, it doesn't really match that one, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So between the fact that they're getting stronger as it goes, I don't know if I mentioned or not, but I was really impressed that they main evented a WrestleMania. All of those reasons, I'm going with the Usos.
Now I'm in the hot seat.
Seat.
In the final. What are the odds is going to be in the final? So the way I looked at it is
no
like...
right or wrong answer, man.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong answer.
Pretty sure it's the wrong answer if it's not my answer. So.
If this is like an actual playoff series in real life, this would definitely go to like game 7.
100%.
So I'm gonna have to stick with the Hardys here. Again, they are what I grew up on, and still is they are still going at it pretty strong. And I love the Usos. I respect everything they've done within the past. I think it's been over 10 years now. They've been in WWE. Yeah. It's just, damn, the Hardys are iconic. You can't
100%.
Between the two. They're very iconic and very influential with tag teams today. A lot of people now are growing up on them, and I feel like if you're, like I said last round, if you don't watch wrestling, you've definitely heard of the Hardys, especially over the Usos. So yeah, I had to go with the Hardy Boys here. It was tough, but I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if we do this bracket again in 3 years, it might have a different outcome.
Right? We might have a different bracket total.
Do you guys think that there would have been a difference if the Dudley Boys or LOD were down on that second half of the bracket and maybe FTR or the Briscoes were up top? Do you think the Hardys would have made it to the finals over the Dudleys and over LOD?
Ooh, I don't know.
I think over LOD, I think they would have. I think I would have put the Dudleys over them. I would have
Yeah.
had to. I would
too.
have had to see past my bias and had to go with the Dudleys over them.
I think I would have
That's
put the
that's
Hardys over the
interesting.
Dudleys, to be
I
honest.
think I might have too. I think the Hardys win this thing almost any way that we do it, to be honest. If I'm looking at
Okay.
it now,
Yeah.
I think the Hardys take this thing because if we put the Usos over the Dudleys, like
Yeah,
I don't
it's
see
tough
us.
to put anybody over. The
I don't
Dudleys.
see us. I don't see us putting the Dudleys over the Hardys at that point either,
Me
right?
too.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
man.
just
That's
so many tag
interesting.
teams you could put the Hardy Boys over, and it's like, damn. It sucks to say, but it's the Hardys again.
And again, how long have they been doing it for? And we're still going, right? But
20 years, I
Yeah.
think. I would say 20 years.
talked about the impact of the singles runs outside of that too. Both these guys, doesn't matter if they're a tag team or a single star, they're both in the upper mid card, upper main event level, right? Like
exactly. So
And
many
even
world
when-
titles between the
Even
two.
when they
The
decide to do the whole
evolution.
broken thing and
Right?
try that out, and it
Well,
worked
look at-
wonderful.
we talked
Yeah.
about the evolution of the Usos, but man, look at the evolution of the Hardy Boys. They started out as friggin' plaid wearing nerds, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they went to
Exactly.
like the coolest guys on the planet with Team Extreme. And Jeff
Yeah.
Hardy, I don't like he's an enigma. Matt Hardy is on a different planet. Like
Yeah.
it's awesome, man.
Yo,
Good for
low
them.
key, Matt Hardy version 1 was one of the best gimmicks ever. I love
Matt
that
Hardy
era
strongly
so much.
dislikes mustard. I love it.
Yeah.
I love that, man. That was awesome.
Yeah. So the Hardy Boys were our winners for this best tag team of all time bracket between
Damn,
the
that
three
was
of
a
us.
tough bracket.
Tough.
That's
It was
good,
very
man.
tough.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciated this.
Thank you for coming on, Tyler. Before
thank
we
you.
ended,
This
do
was
you want to
great.
plug yourself in? Maybe we could find Counted Out Podcast. and all your
Absolutely,
stuff?
man. The Counted Out with Mike and Tyler podcast. We are on social media at Counted Out 7, the number 7. Please give us a subscribe on YouTube. We're pushing real hard. We're getting close to that 400 subscriber mark right now, which
Nice.
I'd really like to try to hit that by SummerSlam. So if anybody could give us a little like over there on Instagram at Countout 7. We've got amazing interviews up there with guys like Eric Bischoff, Dory Funk Jr., TJ Wilson, Mickey James. We just had PCO on. We do media work with Impact Wrestling, a little bit with AEW sometimes. We do a top 7 countdown every week. It's really fun, man. It's just me and my good buddy Mike. We get drunk, we talk wrestling, we have fun, we interview guys. And also check out my ring announcing work at Barry Wrestling. It is on IWTV if you guys subscribe for it. Barry Wrestling might be the hidden gem secret of the professional wrestling world. I will preach until I am blue in the face that the Ontario independent scene is the unplucked gem of the wrestling world right now. We have some amazing talent out there. If you want to see good wrestling, check out at Barry Wrestling. They got a hell of a ring announcer too. And it's cool. Like I get to do angles and stuff. Like I've actually like done in-ring interviews and contract signings and stuff. So I get to be a part of the show. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I think that's pretty cool. I'm excited.
Yeah,
I've seen
living the
you
dream,
post stuff, so I'm like, I've seen it, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But we
I
will
appreciate
definitely
that.
leave your channels and everything in the description of this YouTube video.
Yeah,
So
at counted out _ Tyler is my Instagram for my ring announcing stuff.
cool. We will definitely leave all of that in the description of this episode. Thank you again, Tyler, for coming on this episode of the Fanatic Brackets. Once again, I am Nick, your host. With me is my co-host Joel, and we will see you guys next month for the Fanatic Brackets.
Catch you.